Hey everyone, I am so excited about this tutorial today. I recently won an Explore Air 2 and I thought what would be greater than setting it up with you guys, showing you, straight out of the box how we set it up, downloading Design Space, doing the starter project, and then go through Design Space and really teach you guys the meaning of a lot of these terms and where everything is. So that is what I'm going to do today. I know that most of my videos are usually, short and sweet to the point, but today I wanted to do something that really is all-encompassing and really shows you guys a really thorough look. So that's what we're going to do today. So now I'm going to find my little booklet. Here it is. When you get your machine, you should have a little booklet. Because I'm using the Explore Air 2, you guys, if you have an Explore Air or the Maker Machine, your starter project's going to be a little different. So it's going to be the same setup process. You're just going to have really a different starter project. And you guys will also use Design Space too. So if there's a few parts that you think that, aren't really something you can follow along with because you have a different machine, you can go ahead and skip a little bit. But Design Space and everything that you do for the setup process is going to be the same for each machine. So you really want to make sure that you're following along. For the Explore Air 2, I have my little booklet here, and I got this little blue sheet of paper, the black sheet of paper, the white, my blue mat, and the pen. I don't know if I need a scoring tool, but I have one, so I brought it down with me. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to open up my booklet here, and it tells me to go to cricut.com/setup, and that's going to get me started. Now I'm going to be doing this setup process on my PC. I'm not sure if everything is similar for the Mac. I believe it is, but I'm not positive. And I know that you can set up your machine through the app. So I'm going to link the instructions for that in my post in the description here so that you guys can follow along with that in case you don't have a computer to set it up to. I like to use Google Chrome for my Design Space, and I deleted Design Space completely from my computer so that I can start from the beginning with you guys. So we're going to go to cricut.com/setup. And for those of you who have not watched my videos before, I know that sometimes it can be hard to follow the mouse. So if you look here, that is where my mouse will be. And I will do that frequently when I move from step to step so you guys can really easily follow along. So you see right here, it says, let's set up your machine, create a Cricut ID, and make a fun project. So I'm going to click Get Started. Okay, so what I'm going to do here first is it's prompting me to download Design Space, the plugin. So I'm going to do that, and it shouldn't take too long. It's going to run through it. You can see right here it showed up because I'm using Chrome. It showed up here. If you're using Firefox, it usually shows up over here in your downloads area. Sometimes it pops up automatically. It will depend on your browser, but I have found that I have almost no issue when I use Chrome with Design Space. So that is my preferred browser. So I'm just going to click Next. I agree, and I'm going to install. Now, like I said, I had Design Space, I'm going to click Yes. I have Design Space already installed, but I deleted it just so you guys can see this process here. So when I go to do everything, you may have to set up an account. I do not because I already have one, so it's going to depend on your steps here. I'm going to click Done. And it says I successfully installed it. We're going to click Continue. Now it's telling me you're going to get this cord in with your machine. It has a USB on one side, and this side looks like what goes into a printer, if you've ever seen it before. I already plugged mine into my machine, so I'm going to go ahead and plug it into my computer now. And I already plugged the cable into the back and plugged my machine into the wall. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. I never even took this little piece off over here. So what we're going to do is we did that. So I'm going to go over here and click Continue. I will show you how to set it up via Bluetooth, but I prefer this is the way you have to start it first. So I need to update my firmware. I have a couple machines, so I'm going to select mine, the Cricut Explorer Air 2. So I'm going to do that. It says the Cricut machine comes bundled with a collection of free images, fonts, and projects. Usually you get 2 weeks of free access with this, and that's what this is telling me. It says you'll receive instructions to access the gifts once your machine is set up. So I'm going to go over here and click accept gifts, and that's usually a 2-week free trial of Cricut access. Yep, it tells you right here. Your machine also comes with 14 days of Cricut access standard, which is great. So I'm going to press continue here. I'm only a cut away, so I'm really excited. So this, with this easy project, you're going to learn how to cut ready-to-make projects, prepare materials for cutting, and make your project. You can say no thanks, but really you want to do this project. So I'm going to push continue. And it brings me to design space. Oh, it already recognized me because I already have an account, so I don't have to do all that. So it's telling me step by step with arrows, everything. It's telling me that I want to make this one right here, the enjoy card. Now you have the option to customize stuff, but just for now, we're going to hit make it. Now here is the great part. This right here, it's telling you to prepare your mat. This is where your project gets automatically sorted by color into individual mats. So you can see this mat is white, and that is for my white piece of paper. And I'm going to exit out of this just so I can show you guys quickly. Oh no, it's not going to let me do that. Okay, so we're going to resume it. So what I'm going to do is just quickly show you. It might be a little harder to see because my screen's grayed out, but right here it tells you to draw and cut. That means we're going to use the pen, and that my machine is going to draw it out first and then it will cut. So I'm going to click continue, and because I do have a few machines set up, I'm going to click the Explorer Air 2, and it's going to ask me to set my material, and it's going to show me here, which let me move this a little bit. I'm going to open my machine because I didn't do that yet. Oops. Take off your little styrofoam piece. Okay, and my blade is already loaded in there. So what it's showing you here is in open clamp A, hold the clamp up while pushing the pen down until the arrow on the pen disappears, and then close it. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that. I haven't even opened my pen yet, but you will notice that your pen has this little arrow on it. I like to do this where I keep it on so I don't lose the cover, because I tend to do that. So I'm going to just carefully hold this up a little. I'm going to press my pen down till it clicks, and then I'm going to close the clamp. Now you can see it says A for accessory and B for blade. That is to prevent you from getting screwed up, just in case. Screwed up in case you do. Ooh, I can't talk today. So now I have this blue mat. Mine's a little worn in because I put my newer mat away. I want to save that. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put it down on the edge here in the upper left-hand corner. And I'm going to press it down so I know it's stuck on really well. I'm going to go back to my computer just so we can show you guys. We're going to go over here and click continue. Oops. Okay. My fine point blade is already installed, but if yours isn't, go ahead and do that now. We're going to click continue and place the cardstock on the mat, aligning with the top left corner, slide, and I'm going to show you how to load the mat. Now, what we're going to do first is go over to our dial, and we're going to set it to light cardstock right here on our dial over here, because that's what this is. It's light cardstock material. If you have a maker, you don't have a dial, so it is going to be a little bit of a different setup, but we will get to that later, and I'll show you more how it is for the maker. I'm going to put my computer aside so that we can do this. Now, the important thing when loading your mat is that you're going to kind of push it in a little, nudge it in a little. You can see, I hope you can see how I am kind of pushing it in so that when I push the load button, it's loading fully. So my machine's going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to push the cut button. That little C right here, my machine's going to draw. and then it's going to cut. Now while it's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and just show you a few things on the machine. If you have the Explore Air 2 or the Explore Air, everything's the same. The maker is a little bit different, but again, I can do other tutorials with my maker for those of you who have a few things that are a little different. So if you have the Explore Air, you have this little compartment here. This is great for your weeding tool, if you have little scissors, pens are always great to put in there, so whatever you have. This little slot right here is for cartridges. Some people have upgraded from the Expression, and so now they can link their cartridges right through their machine. Over here is your material style. You have quite a few materials set up already for you. And then you have a custom setting, which we will get to later. You have your load unload button, your cut button, and your pause button. You can pause something if you're in the middle of it and you know something got stuck on your blade or something like that. You can pause it. And you can see this is done. Our load unload button is blinking. So I'm gonna go ahead and push this and it's gonna come right out for me. Just quickly, I'm going to show you guys. You have a little compartment under here. I like to put, I have some blades that I like to put in here. There's a little magnet piece, so if I have a blade that's not in housing, I like to stick it there. You can put some pens, scissors, whatever you want in here. So lots of nice storage. So my favorite thing, my favorite little tip about using cardstock is use the blue mat for cardstock. It is a light grip mat. It is not super sticky. But the best trick is when you go to peel the cardstock off, it is best to flip it over and peel the mat from the cardstock. So now I told you earlier, this is an older mat, so my mat isn't super sticky. So what I like to do is kind of peel a corner. And if your mat's a little stickier, this might, not go as easily. And peel it up. Now, if it was super sticky and it was sticking to it, I would just very carefully pull the paper off so it doesn't curl up. Now I have this little piece that's stuck here. I can just throw it aside, and I'm going to go ahead and we'll pull this out very easily. You can see it cut perfectly around all my edges, and I'm going to pop this out here. My mat is not super clean and it's not super sticky, so there's that. Now you can go ahead and fold it. Now you could have added a score line to this, and I can actually show you guys how we can do that afterwards. But you can just fold it up the best you can do for now. And I'm going to grab that little black piece of cardstock that came in our machine. And you can see these little cutouts in the corner. I'll pull it from the back and just very simple, very basic. And this is so nice. It's so easy. And I know that it seems, intimidating once you get into Design Space, and that's why I really wanted to just sit with you guys and go over a lot of this stuff, because that is the trickiest part. You have this ready to make project, so it's already set up for you, and there are tons of ready to make projects, but when it comes to designing yourself, starting from scratch, it can get a little tricky. So we're going to go over Design Space with you guys. So we're going to go back. We're not finished setting up entirely. So we're going to unload the pen and the mat. I'm going to keep my pen in for right now because we don't really need to do that. And it tells you right here, flip your mat and press your cardstock against the flat surface and then slowly pull the mat away. So that even tells you, which is great. That's a great tip. I'm going to press continue. I already assembled the project. And you can embellish your card. You see this little blue piece that we had here. You can we can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to press continue to embellish our card. We're going to go to new project, and then it's going to start fresh. So this is going to give you a rundown. This is where you can get images, and like I said, you get a 2-week free trial of Cricut Access. So you can see all of these images here that have the little A on it. Those are all free to use while you have a free trial to access, which is really nice. It says right up here, let's find the perfect embellishment for your card. It says type in film and click on the magnifying glass. You can just press enter. and it's right here for us. So we're going to do this. Oh, it tells us. We're going to insert images. See how easy this is to set it up right out of the box? It's so nice. So we're going to go up here to make it. And I already have my machine still, my dial still on like cardstock, so that setting doesn't change. I'm going to go, oh, it's doing that. Oh, that's my only machine on right now, so that would be why. Perfect. I'm going to move this aside. And we're going to go ahead and cut that blue piece. This is so great how it does this. I'm going to, let's see. Oh. Let's see. I'm going to show you guys how to set it up with Bluetooth afterwards. So don't worry about that right now. We still have our my computer froze for a second, so I'm just going to restart it. But we're still plugged in with the USB cord, but I will show you how for a PC how to type in how to pair your Bluetooth. It's really easy to do with your phone too, and again, I have not used a Mac, so I'm not quite sure how that works. But all right, I lost that image. So you know what though? Let me see. I did see in my little book here. I can go back to Cricut.com/setup. Of course, this would happen while I'm in the middle of this. So we'll just do it really quickly. All right, I'm going to run through the process quickly again. Got everything else ready. All right. So if you did lose your project or something happened in the middle of it, you can just go right back to Cricut.com/setup and it is good to go. So I'm just going to press continue. I'm going to kind of go through this process again really quickly. I'm going to just pretend that I loaded my mat. I'm going to press go. See if I can trick it. And it's just going to pretend, oh, no. Make sure you remove your pen because that is writing on my machine. So I'm just going to remove my blade and my pen while it does that so it doesn't write all over. And it's going to go through this again, and while I let that do that, I'll come back when I bring it back up to the film piece we have to do. Okay, now I'm back. I have that blue piece, I loaded my mat, I still have my machine set to like cardstock. So again, I'm going to gently push my mat while I load it, and I'm going to set it to cut as soon as it's ready to go. I want you guys to see that. So now it's going to cut it out, and again, because my mat isn't super sticky, this should peel off pretty nicely. And I've got my card right here. Push it over here so you guys can see it. And once this is done, we'll follow the rest of our on-screen prompts. And we'll finish this card up, and then we'll begin on Design Space. It really is not as difficult as it sounds. It's just getting used to the different terms, and it's really confusing at first. Trust me, I know, been there. I get it. So we're gonna unload our mat. And like I said, mine, you can see how this is even kind of curling up a little bit. So if I push it to the side and I just hold it down and peel that up, I can just pop these little pieces out. Any of my pieces left on my mat. I have longer fingernails, so usually I just kind of scrape them off, pick them off. It's not too involved. So I'm just gonna throw them over here to the side and put them in the trash later. Okay, so we're gonna go back. I'm gonna bring my computer back because I think we're done now. I'm gonna peel the image off the mat, which we did. We're gonna push continue. And we're going to slide this into the card. Just carefully, can you see it? All right. Slide this in here. I'm gonna find it easier to kind of pick it up like this. Slide it on through. And we're done. It's so easy, and it's so great how creative we can be. So we're gonna finish this. So now we can start designing. When you go through the whole process of setting up your machine and do all this and start to finish, you are good. So once that happens, your machine is already registered. So I'm gonna go over here to new project, and I'm going to unhook my USB, put it aside, and now because I do have a Windows, I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to type in Bluetooth. I have no idea how to find it otherwise, so I just go right there and type in Bluetooth. It's going to bring this up, and we can go up to the top and add Bluetooth or other device. It's going to scan for available Bluetooth devices. I'm going to select Bluetooth through device, and it's going to scan for my Air 2. And once it picks it up, we're going to go ahead and click it, and it's going to do the connecting, and it's going to ask you for a pin. It is normally 0, 0, 0, 0. That's 4 zeros. Sometimes it's 1, 2, 3, 4, but normally it's 0, 0, 0, 0. So we're going to start there. We'll push done, and we're done. So now we're set up via Bluetooth. That's how I like to work. It's just easier for me. I can design from my chair and then get up to cut. So it's a little bit of, works out for me. So now I'm going to just go ahead. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to move this, and I'm going to move you guys and come back so you don't have to jiggle all around with me. Okay, now I'm back. Now before we start with Design Space, the one thing that I like to do first before I start working is I'm going to go up here. I'm going to open a new browser, and I'm going to go to speedtest.net. Now I'm going to run an internet speed test. You just click here and press go, and it's gonna kind of bounce around for you, and it's gonna show you your ping, which is how long it takes for your signal to get to where it's going, your download, and your upload speeds. My husband is a gamer, so we have pretty fast, high-speed internet, but Cricut recommends a minimum of 2 to 3 megabytes per second, which is going to be this number here for your download speed, and 1 to 2 megabytes per second for your upload speed. I personally think that's a little low, and you should kind of get it a little bit higher than that. I would say about at least 5 for download and 3 for upload. If you're not getting that and your Design Space is running really slow, I would contact your internet provider, but always I like to run a speed test. Now you can see I have really, really high speeds, but I have, dips in the thing, and they don't let us know, and sometimes it's running slow. So I like to do this before I start working, so I know if I'm running into an issue, it's probably not my internet. I usually don't run into an issue that isn't related to my internet. It's always related to my internet, but I always like to do this so I know ahead of time. Okay, so now we're going to go right over to Design Space. I'm going to start right over here on the upper left-hand corner with New. This is just if you want to start a new project. We're already in a new project, so we don't have to worry about that. Now, right here are your templates. This is a basic way: aprons, shorts, backpacks, bag tags, banners, shirts. You can add one of these in, and templates are intended for reference only and will not be saved with your project, just so you know. So this is a classic polo. You can see it's a little difficult to see. So if we go over here on the bottom right of our layers panel, you can see that we can change the color. So you could change it to a blue if you had a blue shirt and that was easier for you, so you kind of see how it works. So this is for templates. These are great. A lot of people, you can go up here and you can change it from a men's short sleeve to a women's short sleeve. You can change the size. A lot of people like to use these as a guide for when they design. It's all preference. It's up to you. And I don't want to use the template, so I'm going to go over back to my layers panel and press this little eye, and it's going to hide it for me. And you can see this is kind of zoomed out, so I'm just going to show you. If we press new, it brings us back to our screen here. Now images. This is, we'll go to projects first. Projects, this is already designed, ready to cut, ready to go for you projects. Usually if you press one, click this little eyeball here, there's a picture of what it's going to look like. You have a lot of information here. Here's your finished size. Here's your materials to cut. This over here will tell you need standard grip green mat. You need a weeder tool, the bright pad, but they said it's optional, a t-shirt, easy press or household iron and a press cloth, and it gives you preparation, cut, assemble instructions. These projects are really, really great for beginners because it's really already designed for you. So it gives you a better advantage of learning how to use your machine without having to worry so much about the design aspect of everything. You can also go up here to all categories, and you can do my ready to make projects. You can go through and favorite them, the little star here. You can favorite them, so you can go back to just my favorites, and then I will narrow it down by that. You can do baby, cards, Christmas, free for the Explore Air, Air 2, Explore 1, the Maker, tons of really great options. So I always recommend that people go through there because you could really find a lot of great stuff, and you can do a lot of great projects without having to stress so much about designing at the beginning. Now over here we have images. So I'm going to go back to that. And like I mentioned earlier, all of these ones with the green A, those are your free images. Now let's see, I know that this says subscribed. Sometimes they will say subscribed. You'll find some images that don't have an A that have a price tag. Sometimes you will find images that do have an A and have a price tag, because those are images that are exclusive to Design Space Access. You can't purchase them otherwise. So that is something to pay attention to, especially projects. The projects you might have a price for because they used a font or an image that has to be paid for. But you can go through here and you can search by categories. And this is really great. You have a free set of images every week. It's from Friday to Thursday, and they are only free for that week, so you can design all you want, but if you're cutting after that time period, you will be charged if the image is still available. You have most popular, you have recently added, which has a lot of great new images, and you can go through categories: achievement, anniversaries, animals and wildlife, birthday, Christmas, so you can search much easier. Or you can go to cartridges. Sometimes you'll hear people say, I know that the Create a Critter cartridge is really popular. It has a lot of cute animals. So you could they're all alphabetical, which is really great to find things. And you can go search through here. Create a Critter just came up because I saw it recently, and their animals are really, really cute. So you can go ahead and you can see here, view all images. You can buy it. It's $30. It doesn't have the green A. So the images are not included in your Access subscription. So you can see all the ones that do have the green A. There are hundreds, thousands of images and fonts in Design Space. There are so many great images in here. So I always go through here and search through just to see what there is. You can see all of these awesome cartridges. I feel like I didn't even know a lot of these were in here, so I'm learning something new while we go along. So Create a Critter, you can see a lot of little cute animals. Create a Critter 2, really cute animals. And you can go to, let's see, there's a Box It Up. I really love the Box It Up cartridge. I use that a lot. I love making personalized boxes to go with gifts, especially baby gifts. So you have the Box It Up cartridge. So you can see here it's Access and has all these cool boxes you can make. You can resize everything to your liking, boys dress up. So this is really cool. I highly recommend that you go through and you see what you can do. We can go over here and we can click Cancel, because we don't really need that right now. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to our next little button over here. It's our text button. We're going to click that, and you can just type in whatever you want. I'm going to type hello. It's just quick and easy. You can't see it well right now, but I'm going to make it larger once it fully loads. See, here we go. Now it's automatically defaults to Cricut Sans. So I'm going to show you up here. When you type in font, your font toolbar comes up here. You have your font, which you can go through and choose, your style, so that's regular, bold, italic, and writing. I will get to the writing option later. Your font size, your letter space, your line space, your alignment tool, your curve tool, and advanced. That's not something I really play around with. It's not really necessary most of the time. So I'm going to go ahead and move this, and you can see here I have it selected. In the upper left hand corner here you have the X. That will delete it if you click it. This little button right here, we'll go ahead and click it, the little lock. It is that will unlock your dimensions. So if I were to stretch it out, it's going to go all around because I unlocked my dimensions. I can go right up here to my upper left hand corner to the undo button, and it will shrink it back down for me to what it was. And I'm going to click it again, and it is back to locked. I always keep my dimensions locked unless I'm doing something where I need it to be specific, and then I usually unlock it, and you can unlock it up here too. Right up here where it says size, and you can change it that way. I usually like to do it up there. I have a little more control. This here is your rotate button, so you can rotate here, or you can up here where it's rotate. I'm going to put it back to 0 and press enter, and it'll put it back for me. And this little button here is just to help us size it. I'm going to make it really big for you guys so that you can see a little better. Okay, so now I'm going to change this to I'm going to go right up here to my font. I'm going to change it to a cursive font. I'm using all Cricut stuff so you guys can follow along easily. I know that Babette is a cursive one, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now you can see how the letters are not connected. For Cricut Design Space, it is set up to recognize everything as an individual item for cutting. So this is exactly how Design Space is set up to work. I know that it can be frustrating, but that's what it's designed to do. So the easiest way that I recommend is to start up here with your letter spacing. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to decrease that letter spacing. I'm going to move it down. You can always change the number to, like I usually start with like a -0.5. So I can type that in automatically. That's really where I was. But then we can go around, we can go back and we can just do this. And you're going to do that until you can see how everything's overlapped really nicely. When doing a cursive font, you want to weld your letters, which is over here in the bottom layer of a design space in our layers panel. I know I've said layers panel a few times. This is your layers panel over here. This little whole thing over here on the right shows you all of your layers. We only have one layer up right now. It's our text. So that is what we're doing to start with. Now, the reason that you will weld your text is because any cut that is overlapping, I'm going to show you when we hit make it. I don't have anything welded right now. So you can see, I'm going to zoom in on our make it screen. You can see how it shows you here that these are not one whole solid thing. You can see the curve of that E right here and that H. That's because that piece from the H is still right behind there. So when this goes to cut, it's going to cut out each individual piece. So I'm going to cancel this and I'm going to show you. Attach is going to leave it the exact same way when we attach it. So if I make it, we'll zoom in again, and it's still the same way. Attach just holds everything in place where you want it to cut. So if you're doing a different, say I wrote hello here and then I wrote I love you underneath it. If I selected it all and attached it, it's going to hold everything in place. So what we want is to weld our cursive fonts. What I'm going to do here is go up to my top right on my layers panel. And I'm going to duplicate this. And the reason I duplicate this is because once you weld your font and save your project, you cannot unweld your font. So I'm going to go over here in my layers panel and click this I here. That is going to hide this one. I like to hide my duplicate and work with my original. That way, if I ever want to come back and edit my project, I can just easily unhide this and work with it. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to weld my original piece here. When I go to make it, I'm going to zoom in and you guys will see how everything is now connected. You don't see that curve of the E anymore. You can see it's all one cohesive piece. And that's a really important thing to know when using the weld and attach, the difference between that. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you something else really quickly. You can see here my text that I hid. It shows the name of my font right here. Now you can see on my welded piece it does not. But you can still find out the name of your text if you forgot to duplicate and hide it and you really like this font. You can go right over here to where the color is. This is going to pop out and you can click right here for see image information and it will tell you that your selected font was Babette. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hide this piece too. I'm going to show you guys a little something else. I'm going to type in, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to reduce my letter space. And I want to show you what happens if you get a little too close together when you weld. I'm hoping it will do it for us. Yes, okay. You can see how that O piece filled in. That's because my letters were too close together. Now, because I haven't saved my project, I can go right up here to the undo button and it will go back for me and I don't have to worry. Now, what you can do is either blow it up, and you can see that E there. We're going to increase our letter spacing just a little bit, and now we're going to weld it. You usually just, if you blow it up a little, it really shows you how everything's overlapped, so that can help. And you can also just increase your letter spacing a little bit more to do that. Now I'm going to undo this, and I want to show you why. Sometimes that letter spacing is not going to be perfect for you. I feel like it works really well with the Cricut fonts, but it doesn't always work perfectly. So if you have an issue with your letter spacing, you can go right up here to ungroup, and it's going to separate each of your letters individually. So say I did my letter spacing and this is what I was left with. I can take this H and I can manually move it with the arrow keys on my keyboard, get it a little closer, and then we can just take our mouse key and drag it around all of these and weld it together. All right, so now I'm going to type in a little more text. This might actually be a good example too. If we decrease our letter spacing, we're going to get it as close together as we can. I want that V to touch that E just a little bit. Now you can see, because I did that, that I is a little close for my liking. And when I blow it up, I see that that V and that E, there's a little space there. So I can go ahead and I can ungroup it. And I can click on my eye and move it over a little more. And I can take my E and I can just move it up a little. Let's see here. All right, so now I can go ahead and select it all and weld it. And I'm going to add one more layer of text. I'm going to do my letter spacing again. And I'm going to weld it. Now I didn't duplicate and save all of these before I welded that, but that's just because I'm just trying to show you guys right now. I already talked about that, so I'm not doing it every time. You can go down here to the bottom left of your screen and you can zoom out when you do a bigger project. This makes it easier to see everything that you're working with on your screen. All right, I'm going to make this a little bigger. Now say that I want the middle layer here to be red. You can go over my layers panel, click on the little dot here, and there's plenty of colors here. You have the nice little thing here. You can type in a hex code if you know the color. It's up to you, and I'm going to leave it like this. Now, I told you earlier how if you want everything to stay where it is on your mat when you cut it, you can select it all and attach it. Well, you see what happened. Everything became one color. And that's not what we want. So I'm going to go ahead and undo it. And I'm going to attach, you'll see, actually, let's go to make it so you guys can see what's going to happen. There's no space here for my red layer to go down. So I'm going to cancel this and go back, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this one. I'm going to hold the control key on my keyboard, and I'm going to select both the black layers, and now I'm going to attach them. And now when I go to make it, you'll see that they are held in place exactly where I want them to be. So that is how we use the attach feature and the weld feature. I'm going to move these aside for us. I'm going to briefly go over our shapes with you. You have a square, circle, triangle, diamond, pentagon, hexagon, star, octagon, heart, and score line. These are all great things to start with as your base for any project that you may want to do. So you want to make a card, you can start right here, grab a square. You can go ahead and size it bigger. I talked earlier about how we can go up here and unlock it. Say I want a 6-inch wide card, I can do that, and I can press tab and make it 8 inches high. You can play around with all the different dimensions and your shapes and stuff like that. I'm going to come back to our upload button in just a little bit, but I want to talk to you more about our layers panel here. I'm going to show you, I'm going to detach this for the purpose of this right now. So you can see that I have the 2 black layers here. If I go here, you can see that that's still black. Okay, and we'll see. But when I go to make it, you're going to see now I have 3 mats, but they're both black. Well, that's because they are different color blacks. I know it's impossible to tell to the naked eye, but if you go over here to color sync, this is a lifesaver. You can just drag it and drop it, and now they're the same color. That happens to me a lot when I'm working on a project. I don't pay attention, or if it's something I uploaded, or if it's you want to change everything and change a couple things to the same color and you don't want to have to go through to each layer, you can just do the color sync and drag and drop it. Say I wanted this to be black, I can just pull it up there. Now I can go back to my layers panel here, and I can change this one back to a red. Now you're gonna see when you open your layers panel here, your project colors are already here. So when doing something, if I were to add more text right now and I wanted it to be this exact red color, I can just go over here and click it, and it's already gonna be the same color, which is really great too. You can use the color sync, it's up to you guys. You're gonna see up here in your layer attributes, you can change things to write, score, print. Those are all different things that we will get to. When you're using a shape and you use the score line, it's already set to score for you, but I know sometimes when I've uploaded projects it's not. So I'll just do this on this one. It's not really going to show you well, but you'll see you can change from a cut path right to a score path, so you can change it if it's set to cut already. All right, so now we have over here too, we have our duplicate. This just makes a copy of everything that we do. You have the delete button, so you can delete stuff. You can go right up here to the select all tool, and you can group something. Group basically just holds everything together. I think of it like a shopping bag. You kind of throw everything in and it gets it from point A to point B, but it really doesn't do too much other than that. I really like doing this, especially when I'm working on big projects. I like to make my kids shirts for, you know, Thanksgiving, and I make them each a shirt, and it really, I don't like having a different canvas for each of my kids. I like to make them all at one, but if I'm cutting, you know, one color out of glitter, I like to just group it, and then I can go over here and hide it so that I can cut one shirt at a time, or however I want to do it. So the group really, like I said, it's just like a shopping bag. You kind of throw everything in, gets you from point A to point B, and then when you get home, you can just ungroup it, and then everything becomes an individual piece again, and you're all good. Now we can go back up again to our select all tool. We've got your edit here, which is cut, copy, and paste. If you want to do that, that does it all on your screen. We're going to go to our align tool, which is one of my favorites. We're going to center this horizontally. You can center vertically, you can align right, align bottom, you can center it. That's obviously not what we want to do here, but just to show you, this is really great for when you want to line something up and get your project really straight. You can do all of that. You can distribute horizontally, distribute vertically. That's great if you are trying to make, let's see, like if I'm doing a bunch of circles, I can pop one out here. I'm going to just make it smaller. I'm going to duplicate it a few times. I'm going to go ahead and select them all, and I'll go up to a line, and we're going to distribute them horizontally, and I'm going to distribute them vertically. Usually that works. Distribute horizontally, distribute vertically. Well, usually it will, maybe if I put them all in a line. Yeah, I think I have to just line them up first. There we go. That distribute it. You saw it move. Distribute it vertically, and that lines everything up for you. All right, we'll get rid of that. And now we have this here, and I really, when I like to do my projects, I like to grab usually a shape. Say I'm making a canvas that's 8 by 10. I can unlock my dimensions, change them up here, and I really like to, if I'm making an 8 by 10 canvas, I like to have my 8 by 10 here, and I design within this guideline. That way I know my sizing is going to be good. So you can see here, because I added the square afterwards, when I move it over here, it's on top of my words. So what I can do is go up here to arrange and move it to the back, and it's going to send it to the back. So now all my stuff's on the front. That actually worked out pretty perfectly with the sizing of my design. This would look great. So what I'm going to do quickly is I'm going to go over just this position bar right here. We have your X and your Y coordinates. This is where your stuff falls on your mat. You can see the X coordinate starts at 20, so you can see right here that's about 20, and 4, your Y runs left to right, and your X runs top to bottom. Sometimes if you upload a file that you got from somewhere else and you can see it in your layers panel, but it's not showing up on your canvas, 2 things to check for. 1, your size. Sometimes they are 200 inches wide. It's never going to show up on your screen. So what you want to do first is change your size down. I usually do about 8. That way I know it's going to show up. Even I'm zoomed out to 50% right now. You can see it over here. But when you're at 100%, zooming it down to, sizing it down to 8 inches at the highest point or your widest point, that is going to make it a little easier for you to see. And then check your X and Y coordinates. If you switch them both to 0, that is going to show up right up here in your upper left hand corner, and you're going to find it really easily. Another thing I want to show you guys, you can see the grids here. Some people don't really like working with those, or if they want to take a screenshot, you can go right up here to this, right in between the zeros. You click it once, you click it twice, and that will get rid of your lines and then get rid of them completely. And you just push that and you get it right back. Okay, now we have gone over attach and weld. Let's go over the slice feature. Now, I'm gonna get, you can only slice 2 layers at a time. So if I have this whole image right here, whoops, I have this whole image right here, and I put it on top of my square right here, and then I select all. You notice my slice feature doesn't light up. That's because I technically have 4 layers right here. This is a layer, this is a layer, this is a layer, and my rectangle is a layer. So it's really, really, really important that you remember you can only slice 2 layers at a time. So if I wanted to slice everything from this rectangle, 2 things I can do. I have everything already selected, so I can push attach. Now everything turns the same color, but it is going to cut every single thing out of this rectangle. So it doesn't matter that it's the same color, it's going to cut it all out. We're going to go ahead and undo it. But what we can do next is we can take all 3 of these layers here and we can weld them together. And then we can select all. That's I'm doing select all because there's nothing else on my screen right now. And you can slice. And the slice, you'll see, it just did exactly what attaching would do. I'm going to go ahead and undo that and show you guys one other tip. We're going to go back to before we welded it all together. You can take this layer and the rectangle. I'm holding the control key on my keyboard and selecting the rectangle, and you can slice. And then you can take all of these out. And then you can take the rectangle, you can go to arrange and move it to back. And you can go ahead and you can take this control on the keyboard and select that, and you can slice. And you can do each layer at a time. Now, if you're doing a multicolored image, if you are trying to slice it so it's not so thick in all places, this is a great way to do it. But if you're just trying to cut everything out, attach is the way to go. That way, if you want to come back and edit, you can just detach, and it's much easier to edit. I did it this way because I want to show you guys the next little feature. The bottom right hand corner of our layers panel is our contour button. The contour button, it turns your cuts on and off. I'm actually going to get out of here. I'm going to move it over here on the left hand side so you guys can kind of see what's going on as I do it. So say I wanted just the last two lines here. I can go ahead and click here, and it's going to hide all of that. Now, you can see how I'm clicking on these. Sometimes you're going to have an image that has a lot of small pieces in it. So what I like to do is, if I can click the biggest piece, which you can see is right here, and I can tell that all these pieces that are left here are the pieces left in it. So you can click them over here, or you can click it up here. It's up to you. And that is going to hide all those pieces. So then you're just left with what you want. I'm going to show you another great way to use contour really quickly. I'm going to hide this actually. I'm going to go over to our images, and I'm going to, oh, perfect. I'm going to select this image right here. It is called just Boo, Holidays Through the Year Iron. It's M36429. If you want to use the same image, I'm going to insert it on my screen, and we're going to see, you can tell right here, it's only one piece. So what I can do is say that I wanted the black, the bat and these flourishes here black, and I wanted the words green. I can easily use contour to take this image and make it my own. So I'm going to go over here to duplicate, and I'm going to hit my contour button. Now I know that I only want to get rid of the flourishes, so I'm just going to make it easier on myself and go over here and pick these pieces here. Now I can go down, whoops, wrong way. I can go down so that I can make sure that when I'm hitting something over here, it is in fact the right piece. And you can see I got rid of all of this. I can go over in my layers panel. I'm going to change that to orange. And I can go ahead and I can line this up the best that I can. And I'm going to hit the contour button. And I'm going to get rid of all of these pieces here. Now I clicked on that B, so I kind of have a base to know where I'm going from. But I'm just going to click out all of those pieces that I didn't before. It's kind of just the opposite really. And then I can leave all of this, the rest of that black, and that way I took an image from Design Space and I made it multiple colors for me to cut. And it's really great that you can take, you know, just such a simple image and really change it up and kind of make it your own and tweak it a little bit. And you'll see, I'm going to move this piece here. That's all gone. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change that. I can see it's gray. I'm going to change it to black using my project colors, and I'm good. So I'm going to go ahead and drag box around this with my mouse. I'm going to group it together so that we can kind of put it over here, and that's done. All right, so that covered everything except for uploading and print then cut. So I'm going here, I'm going to show you upload. Now we have a few options. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to go to the website lovesvg.com. She has tons of really great SVG files, which is what your Cricut recognizes to cut in layers. And you can go right up here to free SVG cut files. And this is all of her stuff. And I'm just going to click the Classy Witch one. She updates pretty regularly, so you may not see this one right away, but the process for downloading is the same. We're going to go down here, and we are going to download the zip file. If you have never downloaded a zip file before, don't worry about it. I'm going to show you how we do it. Okay, so did I push that? Yep, here we go. Now, because I'm using Chrome, this pops right up automatically. If you're using Firefox, usually a download button will come up over here and you have to click the arrow and then click your folder. Now you're gonna see this says compressed file folder right up here where it's pink. That means that it's all zipped into a file. We're gonna go over here to extract all, and we're going to extract them. Now, another way that might happen for you to come up, I'm going to show you really quickly. Let me just kind of get this out of the way. You can right click on it here. Nope, that's not. Okay. That is for Internet Explorer. So then what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this compressed folder one. And we're going to go back to our Cricut Design Space tab. We are going to upload image, and you can choose browse and you can search through, but what I like to do is take my unzipped file, double click it, and I love that you guys are seeing this. Over here you have the DXF, EPS, PNG, and your Chrome HTML. You don't see an SVG, but my Chrome HTML is my SVG. So you might see Internet Explorer depending on what type of browser you use. So it may not say SVG, but it is this file. We're going to drag it and drop it, and it pops right up. Now, when you tag your images, I'm going to tag it Classy Witch. Whoops, sorry. Because that's the name of the file. But I'm also going to give it a lot of tags. That way, whenever I go to search for a file, it's going to be much easier to find. I'm going to do Classy and Witch separately. I'm going to do Halloween. I'm going to say a hat. You can type in fall. You can say witch's hat. Whatever you want to do. And then you can save your file. Because it was an SVG file, that's the process that you need to take. That's it, you're done. Now, say we want to take an image from Google and we're going to upload it as a print, then cut file. I'm going to Google Paw Patrol because that is what my kids like. I'm going to go over here to images and I'm just going to grab one. I just want one of the pups really quickly. Perfect. I'm going to take this one of Chase. I can see right here 201 by 368. That is the quality of the image. That is not very good quality. You want at least like 500 by 500, but really you want better than that. Especially if you're doing print and cut, you really want a good quality image. This one's 480 by 445. So I'm just going to start with this. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to right click on the image with my mouse and I'm going to save the image as, and I'm just going to say Marshall Paw Patrol, and I'm going to save it. Now I'm going to go back over to Design Space. I'm going to upload image and I'm going to browse this time. I'm going to say Marshall Paw Patrol, and it was a PNG. So I'm going to push complex here. I always choose complex, that way I know it gets the most out of it. So I'm just going to leave this right here and show you. If we click continue, this is what my save as a print and cut image looks like. This is what my save as a cut image looks like. If you have an SVG, you didn't have any of those steps. It's already saving it in the layers. But a PNG or a JPEG is very different. So it's not going to show you that. So we're going to go back. Now normally, there's a few things that can happen here. you have this little select and erase tool up in the upper left hand corner, and if see my checkered background, it's already done for me. But if it wasn't, I would have to click on the white spaces that I didn't want, and would have to remove that. I'm actually going to go back here because I know that I have another image. It's a chase from Paw Patrol. I think it's this one. Perfect. Now you can see this white background here. We're going to click complex, and then we're going to continue. So now you can see, if I were to continue, how it still has the white box around it. So we're going to go back, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to take this erase tool in the upper left hand corner, this little magic wand we call it, and I'm going to go up here in the upper right hand corner. I'm going to zoom in a little just so you guys can see it a little bit better, and I'm going to click on the white space, and I'm going to press continue, and that got rid of the white background. Now I'm going to save him. Chase, I do the same thing. Paw Patrol, dog, police dog, whatever you want to save it as. And we're saving this as a print and cut image. I'm going to do save. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you guys quickly how we can set up the print and cut process. I'm going to cancel out of here. It's going to bring us back to our main screen. And I'm actually going to go ahead and go up here to my upper left hand corner. These 3 lines here for your menu. And I'm going to go down to calibration. I'm going to calibrate for print and cut. I have not calibrated this machine, so this is perfect. I'm going to go here and select my printer. I think this is the right one. And I'm going to print that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, it's printing out upstairs. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that, and I'm going to come back with you guys and show you what we do next. Okay, so I have my printed sheet right here. This is what it's going to look like. So you can see our next step says place sheet in the top left corner of your mat, and then click continue. Now, use your blue mat because it's paper. I am going to place it on the upper left corner of my mat, and because I printed it on my printer, I'm very carefully going to rub it down so I don't smudge any ink. Okay, and then I'm going to press continue. It's going to ask me to select my Cricut device. I'm going to select my Explorer Air 2. It's going to find it and all of that because we're connected via Bluetooth now, so we're all good. And I'm going to move this aside really quickly. Oh, it's going to ask me to turn my dial on your machine to paper. Let me do that. You can see how I did that. And so I'm going to load my mat and press the cut to go button. All right, you can see it here. Again, nudging my mat a little bit as I'm loading it so it fully loads correctly. I'm going to use my little tool thing over here and put my pen in there. Now, this is going to go ahead, and you can see that little light came on. That is the Cricut reading the registration marks. This big black box around here, that's your registration mark. That's where the Cricut reads, so it knows where to cut. Now it's going to go ahead and it's going to cut lines on every single one of those letters and numbers that you see, and it's going to ask us to pick the best cuts so it calibrates it correctly. So while my machine goes ahead and it scans all of that, I'm just going to tell you really quickly, if you are using an Explorer machine, you can only print then cut using white paper, not a cream, not an off-white, white only. So if you are getting an error of any kind, make sure you're using only white paper. Now, it says test cut on my computer. It says without loading the mat, take a look at the cut lines around the small square in the middle. Does the cut line touch the printed line all the way around? So I'm going to go ahead and look. And it does. So on my screen, I'm going to push yes. And it's going to say we're getting close. Let's fine tune the calibration so your cuts are perfect. Click continue to perform the cuts. So I'm going to push continue, and it's going to do all of those little cuts. So I'm going to go ahead and let that do that, and then I'll come back with you guys. Okay, now that my machine is done making all of the cuts, my computer screen is saying without unloading the mat, take a look at the lines on the top and right of the calibration sheet. Which ones have cuts closest to the center? Now I'm going to go ahead and look without loading my machine, unloading my mat, and I'm going to show you guys what it looks like afterwards though. So I can see that my, let's see, which ones, it's going to be on the top. I'm going to pick the number that has the cuts closest to the center. It can be a little hard to tell, but what I'm trying to do is look at the bottom of my line. So for me it looks like number 14 right in the center. I'm going to show you quickly my computer screen so you guys can really follow along with this. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to click number 14, and then on the right hand side I'm going to go through and see which letter. It looks like letter K for me. Now everybody's is going to be different because every printer and everything is different. So we're going to press continue. And now my Cricut is going to perform the confirmation cut. So we're going to go ahead and wait for that to happen and make sure that I did it right. So as long as I did, I'm going to get a really perfect cut. And then I'm going to show you guys what my cuts looked like on my, for all of that. It says unload the mat, remove the calibration sheet, and mark your feedback below. Are you happy with your cut? Okay, so pulled it off my machine, and it looks all right. Everything looks okay. I think I won't really know until I go to do my first print and cut project, but everything looks all right. So I'm going to show you guys quickly my cuts across the top and the right here, just so you guys can get a good idea of what it's going to look like. So you have all these, let's see here. You have all these lines here, and you can see, perfect, you can see all those cuts through it. So maybe cut 14 had a, I don't know if I pushed 14 or 15 now. Well, I can recalibrate later. But you guys can just see on the side here too how all of the cuts go. So you can see what you're going to experience too. So I'm going to press continue. And I can get out of this now because we already calibrated. So it says, are you sure you want to cancel? I do. We're good. Okay. So now we can go back up here to our uploads. Because we recently uploaded an image for print and cut, I can easily just go here and find that instead of having to search through all of my images. Let me just get back to where we were. So I'm just going to click right here on that image that I printed, I uploaded, and insert my image. I'm going to move you guys over just a little. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do first is go over here, draw a box around all this with my mouse, group it, and that will go up to the top, and I'm going to hide it. That way I can work with just what I want to work with right now. Now I'm going to make this nice and big. You can see here it's 12 inches tall, 6.7 inches wide. I'm going to hit make it, and we are going to get an error message right along the top. It says my image is too large. Reduce size to less than 9 1/4 by 6 3/4. When doing print and cut, because of your registration marks that the Cricut needs to read to cut it, your size limitation is 9 1/4 by 6 3/4. So you cannot print and cut larger than that per sheet. It's actually a lot bigger than a lot of people realize, but you will get an error message. If you get that error message, read it really carefully. It's telling you that it's too large. If you uploaded a file and you thought it was a cut file and you sized it large and then you get this message, double check over here. You can see right here in your layers panel. Okay, so you can see over here in your layers panel where this is a printer, that's telling you that it's a print image, not a cut image. If I go in my layers panel, I pull up this panel here and I change it to cut, you're going to see it's going to become that just a silhouette. It's because it's not an SVG file with the layers. So we're going to leave it as a print. So it's going to tell you that it's we're going to have to go back to undo and get back where we were. Oh, nope. All right, we're just going to have to delete it and redo it. That's fine. All right. So now if you wanted to print and cut him, we're just going to make him, I'm not going to make him too large so that we don't have an error message again. We'll hit make it, and you're going to see this black registration mark around here. Again, that's what your Cricut reads in order to cut perfectly. Now you're going to go to continue. Now what you'll do first is send to your printer. You select your printer, you select them on your copies. Always leave your bleed on. That is so important to remember. Always leave the bleed on. A lot of people are going to tell you turn it off. Do not turn it off. The Cricut puts the bleed on so that you don't have white edges around your image, so it doesn't cut into your image. That is giving it just a little bit more space for error. Do not turn your bleed off. If your image looks fuzzy, if you're using words or something like that, and your image looks fuzzy because the bleed's on, don't turn the bleed off. You missed a step somewhere, so go back. It's not the bleed, it's a step you missed, and that is letting you know. So we're just gonna get out of this. We're gonna cancel this cut. And I'm going to just go ahead and delete him for now. I don't really have a lot of ink, so I'm not gonna be printing all of these things. So I'm gonna go ahead next. I'm gonna just show you quickly how we can make a card. Now, the important thing with print and cut is to remember whatever color you have on your screen, that's what color is going to print. So if you're using white paper, which you are because you have an Explore machine, that's all you can use, and you just want to cut out you just want to cut a square out for a card, change this over here to white. That is not going to print anything. Most printers don't print white, so it's not going to waste your ink. It's just going to cut out the square. This is your guide. I'm going to zoom back in for you guys, and I'm going to go up here. I'm going to unlock my dimensions. I'm going to make this 6 inches wide, and I'm going to make it 8 inches tall, and that gives us like a 4x6 card. Okay, so now say I want to cut a design out of there. I just did some recently for my sister. I'm going to go to my images. I'm going to type in anchor. I'm just going to select this one right here and insert it. Now say I wanted to add it right here to my card. Now we know that normally when we do it, we click attach and it's going to cut it right out for us. Well, now what happens when we change it to print? Now we can change the color on this, but it's not going to be the same thing, because what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to flatten our whole image together so it doesn't cut out each individual piece. So what we want to do is select both of these. Oh, I have it attached, so we're going to detach it, and what I'm going to do is select both layers here, and I'm going to slice it. Now depending on which way you want to fold your card will depend on which way you have the anchor. I can't see it because it's white, so I'm going to just delete it from my layers panel. Now you can see here, see these grid lines? That means that the image was removed. And now what I want to do is, say I'm going to add some text. I know I'm using the same phrases, but it's just easier. I'm just going to change it up here in my layers panel to Cricut. Sans are a frightful affair. Just something right out in the open, single layer. I don't want to have to do all the cursive stuff, you know, with all of that. So I'm going to size it. I'm just going to, you can change this since we, this will show, you can change the color for now to work with it to show your cut out right here for that purpose. Now what I'm going to do is I want to add a score line. So I'm going to go to my shapes. I'm going to add a score line. Now what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go up here and I'm going to change it to 6 inches because that's how wide our card is. And then I'm going to go over here to the rotate and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees so that it is straight across. And then I'm going to select my purple piece here while holding the control key on my keyboard. I'm going to select the score line, excuse me, space moment. I'm going to go up to a line. I'm going to center it horizontally and then I'm going to center it vertically. And I know it's going to be perfectly placed on my card. Now, here's the important part. We didn't go over flatten earlier when we were going through our layers panel, and that's because flatten is for print and cut. When doing a score line, you do not flatten the score line. So the first steps you're going to take, I'm going to hide my score line up here in my layers panel by clicking that eye. I'm going to go over here to select all, and I'm going to flatten my image. You're going to see it takes everything here and it makes it one flattened set. That means all it's going to do is cut around the square here and it's going to cut this out. It's not going to cut each individual word. Now, because we have the score line, I'm going to go ahead and unhide it. I'm going to go up to arrange and I'm going to move it to the front. I'm going to, before you flatten it, unless you want it purple, if we want it white, we need to change it back to white before we flatten it. So excuse me there. So I'm going to do the white and I'm going to hold the control key and select that so it's just easier and flatten it. And then I'm going to arrange and move it to the back and we have our score line. Then we can select all and attach. When you go to make it, it's going to show you right here on your screen. It's going to print it, it's going to score it, and then it's going to cut it. This is the order in which it's going to go. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and cancel this. And I'm going to show you guys one other thing with print and cut. And then I think we're going to be done. So I'm going to go to my images. And I'm going to select, I'm going to type in beer because I know the image I'm looking for is in a set of beer. This is a set that I uploaded, so it's not anything you're going to find in Design Space, but I know this specific image is going to do what I want to show you. I only need one of these images, so I'm going to go up to Ungroup. I'm going to take the one that I want, and I'm going to select all of these and delete them. I'm going to take this flattened and attached image here, and I'm going to hide it, and I'm going to make this bigger so you guys can see. I am still within my parameters for print and cut, so we're good. All right, so now I'm going to type up some text. I'm just going to say, I love beer. I actually don't like or drink beer, but that is not the point right now. So I'm going to, I never went over the alignment tool with you guys earlier, so I want to show you that. It's going to center it here. And I'm going to put this, I'm going to put this in here. And I'm going to show you, because I didn't show you earlier either, line space. I'm going to spread out the space in between each word a little bit. That's what this is for. Sometimes when I type things in using Cricut fonts, or really any fonts, you're going to see a big chunk of space in between each line here. So you can reduce the line space or increase it depending on what you're wanting to do. Okay, so now we have this here. So now I go to select all, and I flatten it like we do for print and cut. I go over to make it. Everything looks great. I hit continue. I hit my send to printer. Oh, I gotta pick my machine. I'm gonna do send to printer. And I look at it and I say, wow, my words are really fuzzy. They should not look like that. Now I know, turn the bleed off and that changes it. But it's still going to cut out every single one of my letters. That is why it's so important to leave the bleed on, because I realize that I missed something. So I'm going to exit out of here. I'm going to cancel this and I'm going to go back. And I'm going to say, oh my goodness, I can see my grid lines through here. I don't have a solid shape to flatten something to. So that is really important. You can't flatten something to nothing. You need a solid shape behind your image. So cool trick. I'm going to go over to our flattened image here. We are going to unflatten it. And I can see, oh wow, I can see through this. I can see the grid lines. Oh no, it's not solid. What am I going to do? I sound so dramatic right now. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to change this to a cut file. When you flatten something, it automatically changes to a print. Then we can go over to our handy contour button. We can just select that inside, fill it in, solid shape, good to go. So if I wanted this white, which I probably do because I'm not wasting ink, you can go back to select all, right up here. You can go over to your flatten button, flatten it for print and cut. We are going to make it. Now you're going to notice you don't see the beer shape here. That's because it's white. It's just going to cut the shape for you. It's not printing it. We are going to click continue. And I'm doing this just so you guys can see the difference with the bleed because that's really important. We're going to send it to the printer. And now you can see my words look normal. That's because it had nothing to do with the bleed. I missed a step. So if I hadn't gone back and put a shape there to flatten my letters to, it would have cut out every single letter inside my shape and I would have wasted my time. So I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to cancel this. We are going to go back to the beginning, and I realized that I never went over curved text with you guys. Curved text is only available on the computer, not on the app, so keep that in mind. You can curve any font. It doesn't matter if it's your font, system font, whatever. And I just realized I never talked to you guys about downloading and installing fonts too. So we're going to go ahead and do that after. Actually, let me do that first. I'm going to go back over to this tab. I'm going to go to DaFont, DaFont.com. That is the most popular site for free fonts. They are for personal use only. It will say it right here, free for personal use, free for personal use. Always read, when you download it, always read to your README file. You'll get a README file. I'm just going to pick the Comma de Mascar one. I'm just going to go ahead and download it. And it's going to do the same thing that we did before when we got it in a zip file. And it's going to pop right up. We already know we're going to extract it. And then you're looking, oh my gosh, where do I upload it? We don't have an SVG. Fonts are installed to your device. So if you download a bunch of fonts on your computer and then open up the app, you're not going to have the same fonts. You need to download the fonts per device. So if you're using it on your app and your computer, you need the fonts on both devices if you want to use it. So all we'll have to do is go over here. Now usually you'll get an open type font file and a true type. You want to download the open type. That is going to give you more extras and glyphs and all that. You double click it, you install it, and you're going to need to restart your browser. Some people need to restart their computer. Usually I just have to restart my browser. I'm not going to do that right now for you guys, but once I like to go ahead and usually I download all of my fonts in Firefox, and then I open Chrome to use Design Space, and everything's already there for me. That way I don't have to get out of my browser and then open it back up. And I like to download all my fonts before I do that. But you will need to restart your browser. So if you have any projects open, save them, close your browser down, reopen it, and then your new fonts will be there. Okay, so curved text really quickly. I have a text box open here. I'm going to say hello. I type in hello, and you can see the curved font feature right up here. I'm going to click it, and if I go to the right, it's going to curve outwards. If I go to the left, it's going to curve upwards. I can manually change it, so I can set it back to 0 here. And I want to show you too, if I were to write, hello, I love you, you'll notice that it's grayed out. That's because you can only curve one layer, one line of text at a time. So if you wanted to curve all of that, I'm just going to go ahead and make it one line so you guys can see curved text is back. I'm going to duplicate it really quickly because I want to show you guys what I can do here. So I have this top one here. I'm going to start to curve it. So I'm going to go to the right. I want it to curve like this and say I really like that. Now I want to curve whatever I have on the bottom here. So what I do is I go back to my curve here, and I'm going to highlight this, right click on my mouse, and I'm going to copy this number. I'm going to go down to my bottom one. I'm going to click the curve feature. I am going to highlight this. I'm going to put a negative sign, a minus sign, whatever you want to call it, first. And I'm going to right click and paste. And I'm going to hit enter. And that moves the bottom piece. It gives it the same exact curve in the opposite direction. So I have like a perfect right here. All right, I think that covers the majority of the basics that we went through for Design Space. If you guys have any questions at all, do not hesitate to ask any questions. I am more than happy to answer them for you. I really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope that I helped you guys and informed you, and that you guys are going to be off to a great start. So I hope that everyone enjoys it, and please ask all the questions you have. Thank you.